watching NotesIn9.
Hello, and welcome to NotesIn9. I'm David Leedy. Episode 109, Selecting Multiple Items with XPages Mobile Controls. Why have an app if you can't take it with you? Okay, before we get started, here's just some additional information on resources I provide to the community. The main site is NotesIn9.com. I currently try to index shows a little nicer at index.notesin9.com, which used to be called xpages.tv. The episodes are fairly easier to find there. Just don't use IE for now. Use like a real browser. And I've got the cheat sheets available at cheatsheet.notesin9.com. There's a online cheat sheet. There's some downloadable and printable cheat sheets and some demo applications to get you started. Okay, additional community resources is, of course, xpages.info and OpenNTF are our two big ones. For the news of the day, collaboration today.info is a good site there. They've got an XPages tab. I think that's actually aggregated to xpages.info, so I think that's the same thing. So there's aggregation on popular blog posts and stuff on both xpages.info and collaboration today, and I think xpages.info pulls from collaboration today. Questions, you have Stack Overflow. There's an XPages forum, and there's this new thing that I discovered. Now I'm going to talk more about this in an upcoming show, but there's a Google Plus community. I don't know how to find a Google Plus community. I bumped into it by accident, quite honestly, but just search for XPages. That's the name of it. And they do some aggregation. There's some discussion on there. So if you're on Google Plus a lot, you might want to join that and check it out. And again, I'm going to talk about some of the people involved in that and the community itself in a very upcoming show here. And then there's some paid resources, XPages 101 and TLCC, and most of my contributors are business partners, and some of them would be available to offer you mentoring and help, even if it's just a one-time thing. Okay, so today we're going to start what I'm calling XPages Mobile Madness. This is a very kind of small event that I'm trying to do at Notes9, and I'm just trying to push out a bunch of mobile themed shows. Mobile is huge. If you're not looking at mobile, you should be. So I'm still looking for contributors because I don't have that many yet, but we're going to just try to do a bunch of mobile themed shows and see how it goes. And what better way to start a new event than with a new contributor? And I'm really excited to have this person come on the show, and it's none other than Richard Sharp, who's the technical director of Team Studio. Works a lot with our mobile apps. His email is here. He's on Twitter at Mobile Apps Rule. He's a very popular speaker at most of the lugs and lowest events. I'm pretty sure he's going to IM Lug, I believe. He has been at MW Lug in the past, so he might be there again. But he's all over the board, and he does a lot of great mobile demonstrations on not just their product, which they've got this really cool product Unplugged, but also just pure mobile development as well. So the company website is teamstudio.com, and they have this Unplugged product, which is basically a set of tools that you can use in your XPages and Designer to give you offline data. It's basically let you replicate an application to a mobile device, and I haven't played with it heavily yet. It looks really cool, and he, along with I guess Matt White, created some kind of controls that are available on OpenNTF. But my understanding is they're not just for the product Unplugged. You can use them in just a pure, for free, in a pure web application. So there's a lot of good technology coming out of what Richard's doing with the Unplugged stuff and what Team Studio's doing. So you might want to check that out. So Unplugged, I believe, has it's a free license to developer if you just want to get started. And but again, what's a little more interesting to me, because I don't have a high need for offload data yet in my day job. What's more interesting to me is the OpenNTF project with these controls that they've provided, which can be used in a normal web application. So hopefully we'll get more on that at some point. But today, what's going to happen is Richard's going to go through just a pure basic mobile application very quickly, and it's not really how to build a mobile application as much. He assumes you're a little familiar with that, and I've got some starting shows coming up soon. They're just not ready yet. And but he's going to show you how to select multiple documents at a time and act on them. So that's kind of cool because I haven't seen that done yet in the mobile controls world. So with that being said, let's go to the demo.
For my session at IBM Connect, I wanted to use the IBM mobile controls in Designer to demo a list of view entries where multiple entries could be selected and then deleted in one go, like this. I checked on Google, and actually this idea had been entered on Idea Jam as a question or a how-to with no reply. So I figured I'd share this with you today. So I have a very basic app that I'll mobilize and implement this feature. It's just a bunch of employees with some data. I'm going to assume that you've got working knowledge of XPages and a real fundamental understanding of the mobile controls project. Here I'm using 853 with Upgrade Pack 1, which has the officially supported extension library and mobile controls included. So the first thing I've done is to set my prefix in my XSP properties file here via Package Explorer to use the mobile theme for these XPages. This is actually very important, otherwise the mobile controls won't work. Now I can create my mobile XPage. So drag in the single page application control and add 2 mobile pages. Give these pages the name of emplist and empdata respectively, and set the single page application property selected page name to emplist. Next, I drag in header bars into my pages and complete the title labels and the back button on my emp details page so navigation can work. Very quickly, I'm going to drag a panel into our emp details page and bind that to our form just to have some data for testing. Then, just using the outline pane, I'm going to move these components in the right order because Designer doesn't quite put them where I want them to be. Now here comes the real functionality. Usually I drag a data view control from the extension library control palette into my page. Logically, I would set this up as a data source, bound data source, and then use the show checkbox property to display checkboxes to manipulate. However, this does not work on the mobile version. Also, again logically, one would think that dragging a checkbox in the icon field may work as well, but no, it doesn't work. So the way to do this is not to use the data view at all, so delete that. Instead, drag a standard panel into the mobile page and bind the view to the data source. Here it's employees. Then drag a repeat control into the panel and configure it. And then within the repeat control, drag a static line item control and configure that. Just make sure the label is pointing to the correct name and the data source. Now we need to add some server-side JavaScript to the move to property, so from our view list we can access our documents. Basically all this code is doing is calling our new X page with the URL parameter of the doc ID that we wish to open. Note that specifically after we give the name of the page to move to, we don't include the .xsp suffix, and we use an ampersand, not a question mark, for our first sort of URL parameter. That's very important for the Ajax. That's how that works. Also make sure that in the mobile page that we're going to, emp details, the reset content is true. Otherwise the page will cache and you'll get the same data for each employee. Briefly testing this shows that we have effectively recreated a very simple data view control, and that we can access, our relevant documents. Back in Designer, drag a checkbox control, just a regular one, into the repeat control above the static line item control. Now in the on-click event of the checkbox, we need to add the following server-side JavaScript. Oh, don't forget to delete the label from the checkbox. We just want the checkbox, otherwise you'll get some text next to that. So let's take a minute to just walk through this code. I'm sure there's probably more efficient ways to do this, but I wanted to structure it so that we could just walk through and follow the mindset or process that I was thinking of when I did it. So create a couple of variables. One's going to be an array of the selected documents, and the second one's just the unit of the current document. And then we just need to establish if there is a view scope variable array that stores these already. So if there isn't, create a new one. If there is, then we'll set our docs variable to be that array. And then on line 14 there, we just detect to see whether that doc is in the array. Obviously, if not, put it in there. If it is, on line 18, so that means the person's unchecked the box, just trim down a blank entry in the array and remove it. And then on 21, I've put that array back into the view scope. Now drag a tab bar between the header and the panel in the first mobile page, and two buttons, create and delete. You need to move the tab bar, probably using the outline pane again if you're using the GUI in Designer. You can point the create button to the emp details X page, as our default there was to create a new document in the data source settings. So that's just done. Just a reminder, when opening that new page, make sure you use the mobile actions, not the normal open page. Also in the mobile actions, I found that unless you set the transition type to either fade or flip or anything, it doesn't actually work properly either. Now for the delete button, we need to, in the on-click event, add the following server-side JavaScript. So again, there's probably more efficient ways of doing this, but I wanted to structure it so we could follow through. So here we have our docs for deletion, which is our view scope property, the array that we put in earlier, and just a notes document variable there as well. And then we loop through the array and just delete the documents in the array. And then on line 8 there, you can see we reset the docs for deletion to be an empty array and store that back in the view scope before reloading the page. Now you'll more than likely get a couple of compilation errors here. This is just on the event handlers that Designer has got a bug in it. So it says the XE event handler, these should be XP. So just change the four the opening and closing tags for the two event handlers and save. You should be fine. All that's left now is to just use basic CSS to move the checkbox next to the title. So I'll add that in here, and then just add a margin to the static line item control, and it's done. So here's the final result. If I select a couple of entries here and delete them, you can see they disappear from the view list. So I guess an exercise for the reader is just to tidy this up using a bit more CSS or whatever, but I hope it gives you that good idea of how to do this functionally. Goodbye.
And that's the demo. I really thank Richard for coming on the show. I hope he comes back with anything else mobile or other that related that he wants to do. And I'll try and publish it a lot sooner than I got this one out. And if you have any questions for me, here's my contact information. And I thank you for your time.